Hey everybody, Ray here with Chaos.Coach. Hey, listen, I was talking to someone the other day and a client of mine, and we were talking about productivity and time management and how we all have the same amount of time and we all have 24 hours in a day and all of the cliches that you hear around productivity and when it comes and time. And one of the things I said to him was that I actually have triple the time that everybody else does. I feel that in my production routine that I get 3 days worth of work or 3 days worth of time in one day. In one day. Now you could say four, but it's three or four. There's other folks that get 2 days out of one day. And I know you're sitting there going, what in the hell is Ray talking about now? What does he mean? Well, let's take a look at it real quick. Right? 24 hours, it equals your traditional day. Right? So there's 24 hours traditionally in a traditional day. Right? So here's how I take those 24 hours and I turn them into 3 extra days. Right? 3 extra days worth of productivity, or it feels like, three, where I got done in one day what I could get done in three. Right? And again, I'll show you another formula where some folks do this and it's 2 extra days. But here's what it looks like. Okay. There's 24 hours in a day. So if you take that 24 hours and you divide it and you break it up into 6-hour chunks, you end up with 4 chunks, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4. And each one of these are 6 hours, right? And if you look at it, it's like, okay, that's the time everybody has, right? So for me, right, I do it by 6. Other people will do it by 8. And if you do it by 8, you get 1, 2, 3. Why? Because obviously 3 times 8 is 24, right? Just like 6 times 4 is 24. So we take those 24 hours in a day and we decide, do we want a 4-day track or a 3-day track, right? So here's what happens. Each one of these in my world is 6 hours. So all the way across, 6 hours and 6 hours. So what it comes down to is, what are you doing in those 6 hours, right? So in my first 6-hour block, I call it my rise time, right? Now, what am I doing during my rise time? Well, I'm waking up, I'm doing my morning routine, right? I'm doing my yoga asanas, I'm doing my meditation, I'm doing my journaling, I'm going to the gym, I'm having breakfast, I'm visiting with my wife, right? And then I get ready to go up and I shower and shave, right? And I get ready for work. Okay. So that's my first 6 hours of the day. I do all of that in the first 6 hours a day. Second 6 hours a day, I call my run time. Now you can imagine what I'm doing in my run time. My run time, I'm working, I'm doing my occupation, right? I'm running my businesses, or I'm working with clients, or I'm doing training, or we're evaluating the business. In other words, I'm at work. Now, if you're not a business owner, if you don't own your own business and you work for another company, whether you're an entrepreneur, that would be, or an entrepreneur, right? You have a work schedule, right? So I have a run day, right? Running is, that's my work time, 6 hours of that, right? Then I relax. Okay. Now, after work, what does that mean? What does relax mean? Well, this might be, date night with the wife, a dinner out. It includes dinner, right? It might be relaxing and watching a movie. It might be reading a book. It might be just hanging out home with the dogs. You can see my dog behind me there. They're here in the studio with me today. It's just relax. It's take the deep breath, right? And just relax, let everything go, right? Watch some TV. Don't watch the news. Holy cow, here lately, if you watch the news, there's no relaxing there. But whatever your evening, usually it's evening time routine, and whatever it is to relax. Some people read, some people go for walks, some people, whatever the case might be, but it's relax. The last 4 is rest. And that's really easy. All that is sleep. Okay. That's when I'm in bed. Now, if you're on an 8-hour, right, then you would have the same thing. You would have rise, run, right, and rest, right. You somewhere in here, maybe your rise and your run go together, or maybe your run and your relax go together, right. But because it's an 8-hour, deal, what most people do is that this first block ends up being 4 hours. This is an 8-hour, and this is the 4-hour, right? Okay. And then you do have a fourth one, which is an 8-hour. Now, what do you mean by that? Well, you usually rise and do your morning routine, maybe for 4 hours. Then you go to work for 8, because especially if you're an entrepreneur and you work for somebody else, 8-hour days, usually what you work for. Then after work, you have another 4 hours of what would be your relaxed time, right? In other words, your dinner, your time, time with the family, whatever the case might be, your 4 hours in the evening, and then you sleep for 8 hours. Okay. Now, how does this equate? Well, for me, the way it equates is that I end up with 3 days, because each one of these times, right, during these time hacks, I have things that I am accomplishing individually, separately, and I'm focused on them and I'm driven on them, right? So each one of them are like a separate day, and that's how I view them, right? So depending on which one that I'm doing, right, determines the productivity of it. What's the productivity of my rise time? Well, I get to the gym every day. I meditate every day, right? I do my journaling every single day. I obviously have breakfast every day, and all that, all the stuff that goes with me kicking off my day so that I'm the most productive, right? Run time is just that. It's work time. It's run time, right? So we're running, and it's whatever the work is for that day, whether I'm doing events, whether I'm doing what I'm doing right now, whether I'm coaching somebody, whether I'm, traveling, whatever I might be doing, right? It's in run time, and that's a 6-hour block, right? Then I relax for 6 hours. Now, again, as an entrepreneur who owns his own businesses, I recognize not everybody can run a 6-6, the 6-hour days. I get that, but that's what the 4 hours for, right? I get that some of you have careers that you can't work for 6 hours a day. You have to run for 8, right? I get that. But what I'm gonna suggest to you is that the idea is that will you be quiet? Sorry about that. So what I'm going to suggest to you is that whether you use the 8-hour one, that you still view these blocks of time as productive times, as actually result-driven days. So instead of saying I had a good day, bad day, right, or instead of saying I got to do this today, no, I do this during this day, I do this during this day, I do this during this day, and I do this, at that day. In other words, to me, it feels like I get 3 extra days, right? I feel like I get, because we all have to sleep. Now for me, I only sleep for 6 hours. It's just who I am. It's just the way I'm wired. I don't use an alarm. I've spent 25 years in the Marine Corps, and I don't wake up to an alarm. My eyes just open when they open, and away we go. I'm usually up between 3:30 and 4, right? And then that starts that routine. 6 hours later, I'm starting my business day. 6 hours after that, I'm starting my wind down time or my relax time. And 6 hours after that, I'm in bed. Are there exceptions to the rule? Yes. Right. Friday night, if we go out, right, I may get a little less rest, or I may infringe on part of my resting time. I may sleep in a little bit later on Saturdays, but I run this 5 days a week. Right. So what does that mean? Well, 5 days a week, then for me, right, if I'm running this, right, I get the equivalent to 20 days in 5. Right? I get the equivalent of, or if you take, maybe it's 15 days instead of 20, because these are actual chunks, and this is sleeping, which everybody does anyway. But in my mind, what that does, it allows me to group the activities for each one of these sections. In the Marine Corps, we used to call this phases of the day, right? We'd call them 3 phases of the day. And one was designed for productivity, one was designed for, protection, one was designed for, I forget what the other one was, but they were designed, those phases of the day had specific outcomes, and they had specific results that you could get just from that block of time, right? So that's it. That's how I take a 24-hour day, one day, where most people call it a one day, and I get 4, or 3 if you don't count sleeping. And that's pretty much how I operate. That's pretty much how, I look at it. And again, if you want to use the 8-hour model, just recognize that you're breaking. If you sleep for 8 hours and you work for 8 hours, right, then you only have 8 left, right? And if you recognize that, then, obviously, putting 8 before you go to work, 8 hours before you go to work, you'd be up in the middle of the night, right? putting 8 hours after work, you wouldn't go to sleep until the middle of the night. So, this is the normal routine of most folks, right? But the focus is still the same, right? In the first day, right? In those 4 hours, there's certain things you must or want to get done, right? What do you do? What is required for that time, right? In the second one, you run, right? And you do what's required. In the third one, you relax, right? And do what's required. And then, of course, you rest, right? That's it, folks. That's all I got for you today. That is your chaos clip for the day. If you have any questions, hit them up in the chat or hit them up on make the comments in the post. As always, just give me your feedback. If this is something you enjoyed, something you liked, something that was valuable to you, just hit me up. Let us know, share it, do whatever it is that we're supposed to do on social media. Let everybody know what's going on. And oh yeah, I got a public service announcement. Hopefully, I think I'm going to post this either tonight or tomorrow morning. But Friday the 14th, which as I stand here today, that's tomorrow. Friday the 14th at 2 p.m. Eastern time. I will be going live on Facebook Live. Still trying to figure all that out. But we're going live on Facebook to talk about our creatorship package, our coaching package, and actually teach some concepts from, give a free training, hour and a half, whatever it lasts to, chance to answer questions. But we're going to talk about what we're going to go over is, creatorship. How do you create within chaos? We all know the world right now is in chaos. And it doesn't matter who you are, what you are, it doesn't matter what your background is. It doesn't matter. None of that matters. The whole world seems to be in chaos. And we as human beings, right, have to learn how to create within chaos. How do we continue to create our lives? How do we continue to create success? How do we continue to create expansion and growth in a world that just seems to be crazy, right? So yeah, that's it. That's going to be tomorrow, 2:00. If you can join us, I've posted the links, and the little pieces of information on it in the main page. So in the Facebook group. So hopefully we'll see you there. All right, that's all I got for you today, folks.